COVID vaccine. Some people will be regarding the new COVID vaccine as a return to everyday life, the ability to go to the shops and be with loved ones and have physical contact once again, whereas other people will have all manner of suspicions. Obviously, I'm not here to tell you what to think or how to think. In fact, my new spiritual practices mean I'm actually able to float through life sometimes without having an opinion at all for as long as 25 minutes. So let's have a look at what people are saying in the media and try and understand the benefits and costs of a COVID vaccine.
Here in downtown Brussels, locals are wary.
J'attends d'abord que tout le monde le fait, après je vais le faire.
They are wary in downtown Brussels, aren't they? That lady's wearing every single imaginable garment on her head.
Just a few months ago, the polls looked really good. 85% of people said that they would be willing to take the vaccine. And actually, interestingly, it's got worse since then. You know, as we've got closer to actually having vaccines.
It's interesting, isn't it, that regardless of the emergence of this vaccine, we are living in a time defined somewhat by oppositionism, particularly in the political sphere, the Trump era and indeed the Brexit era are defined by these kind of nearly matched opposing forces defined by a single issue. Also, we have perhaps unseen levels of cynicism towards government power.
So there are some countries that do...
Did you nearly say companies there?
So there are some countries that do either compulsory vaccination or, you know, stop you getting your full government benefits. I think we can use incentives, you know, that are carrots rather than sticks.
Oh, tell us about these carrots.
How would we nudge people with a carrot?
I don't want to be nudged with a carrot. This is going in a strange direction.
And perhaps with a stick.
I don't want to be nudged with a carrot or a stick.
The most obvious one is simply to pay people to take it.
20 quid for a vaccine. What do you think? Look at him smiling. He's quite a young man. I think he's trying to get himself a little score, trying to get himself a little pony out of the vaccine, people. I recall when that app came out, the track and trace app, when it was marketed as the NHS track and trace, I thought, NHS is not a tech company. Who is really running track and trace? You know, it's interesting because if you are a person that is unable to go out, then this vaccine, of course, is lifeblood. Here's some basic stats on the matter. 58% of Americans are willing to take it, 40% of the Dutch, 59% of Indians are sceptical, 32% of the UK will probably take it, and 21% of the French say they will take it.
Je sais pas, non, c'est juste que j'aurais pas confiance. Ce serait le premier vaccin, on ne sait pas quel effet secondaire il y aura.
I suppose what it shows you, a lot of the cynicism of those people spoken to, is that we've been encouraged for so long to think as individuals. There's no such thing as society. Take care of yourself. You're on your own. The welfare state's a waste of time. Now with a vaccine, it requires that we immediately adopt the mentality, hey, we're all in this together. The mentality that was engendered at the beginning of this pandemic that cannot be backed up because the protection that workers and ordinary people will require as the financial consequences of this pandemic are felt will not be underwritten by supportive governments or a supportive corporate sector. Those people will be cast aside.
Plus tard, parce que je ferai tester par les autres.
That's why people have a general attitude of, well, let other people try the vaccine first. We'll see if it's successful. I might take it down the line. You know, only the desperate and most needy are the people that will be willing to get in line straight away, would be my suspicion. Here are some stats on the vaccine from CNN. It's 95% effective in preventing infections, caused no serious safety concerns. I think I heard yesterday that the pharmaceutical companies demanded indemnity from future lawsuits if there were any consequences. COVID has killed almost 1.5 million people worldwide. A mate of mine's in Los Angeles and he's saying, you know, still like thousands of people are dying every day. He's saying if that was happening as a result of an earthquake, you'd think, oh, this is a national emergency. This sort of fatalistic acceptance of a kind of glum new world. So it's not straightforward. I'm certainly by no means saying don't take a vaccine. Neither am I saying like do take a vaccine. Do you remember that there was that story about enlisting sensible celebrities to promote taking the vaccine? I thought, well, when am I going to get the call? When's old Russ, as a sensible celeb, going to get the phone call to show me banging myself up with the... You can do it yourself. You can do it at home. And that's why I didn't get that phone call.
Let me ask a more fundamental question. is it really just out of the question in a democracy to make the vaccine mandatory?
Well, it's not out of the question in some democracies. So some democracies nearby, for instance, France has several vaccines that are mandatory.
That sounds like preparation for mandating vaccines, doesn't it? Like become used to it. We've already heard that you won't be able to go to gigs, you won't be able to do this, that, you know. Do you want more government authority, or are you cynical about it? That's one of the questions that I would put to you. Do you feel a great deal of faith and trust in governments, or do you feel uncertain about granting governments more authority and power? Do you feel comforted by the idea that other people will be forced to take a vaccine, or does it make you feel uncertain? Now, here's a word of wisdom. Any of you that want to have unshakable faith in the emergence of these vaccines, do not Google Pfizer controversy or Pfizer bribery or Pfizer scandal, or your faith may be shaken. And I suppose that's one of the things we accept, that like these kind of megalith industries such as the pharmaceutical industry do operate in a rarefied space. If that indemnity thing proves to be true, that's an interesting aspect. And certainly it's true that with pharmaceutical companies, you kind of accept, oh yeah, no, they had to lobby to get that through. Oh, they had to bribe someone because of that particular thing happened with that particular drug. And we accept that that's just the way the world is run, that there is a layer of commerce that is added to political decisions and is necessary for political efficacy. So perhaps this cynicism and mistrust that is, in a sense, endemic at the moment is because of the justifiable suspicions people have about the relationships between government and big business, which have been proven again and again to be dubious. And in a sense, the government should have no agenda other than aiding, assisting, taking care of the people that they are elected to serve. Whenever you sense that there is an additional ingredient, particularly one that opposes that basic premise, it's necessary to become suspicious.
Yeah, absolutely. There's private incentives as well. So we saw the CEO of Qantas saying that he's going to, I think he hasn't officially said, but he's thinking about it. They're considering having some kind of so you have to show your passport for an international flight. You might also have to show your immunity passport for an international flight.
Well, that's very curious, like that the private sector will be leveraging, incentivizing and mandating vaccines and immunity as a sort of form of control. I said it's the same as having a passport. Okay, so maybe it's just the same as having a passport. You have to have a passport to travel. But then Jen said, well, you don't have to inject a passport into your body. I don't have to, but I sometimes do. I mean, yes, that's interesting, isn't it? Is this a condition of the new world? I suppose, as I say, I have no view on whether or not you should take a vaccine or not take a vaccine. But certainly we're in a new environment where new ideas are being leveraged on the basis of public health and safety that certainly seem to have another component due to some of the partners that are involved, notably Pfizer, and at a time where people are concerned as well as about their health, about individual liberty and the impediment on individual liberty imposed by government organisations aided and abetted by corporations, it seems it's concerning. I hope that a viable vaccine emerges. I hope not for a return to normal, to be absolutely honest, because of course, you know, I live in relative comfort. I hope for a return to something far better. I hope for a move towards a fairer, more just world where power and the decisions that affect people are moved much closer to the people affected by them, where there is much less cynicism and suspicion and much less cause for cynicism.